Hello from Turf Moor. We'll do a quick 5 minutes before we get kicked out and they close up for the evening. Hull City beaten and well beaten here by 2-0. And in truth, the game was probably over after 21 minutes when Burnley scored their second goal. It sounds daft to say that actually in the first 2.5 minutes, City started the game really brightly. They had a Gauhart tried to cross for Carl Joseph. He couldn't quite get his shot away, and they started on the front foot, but then one absolutely fantastic ball from right to left, picked out Lyle Foster. Louis Coyle got caught underneath that long direct ball from right to left towards the edge of the 18-yard box. He knocked it back for Bashir Humphreys, who just let rip with an absolutely fizzing shot from the left corner of the penalty area, bottom right corner, leaving Ivo Pando with no chance. And that came after 3 minutes. If City were going to get anything tonight, and it was always going to be a tall order, let's be fair, Burnley are a better team than Hull City. They've got man for man all over the pitch. They're a better team, and in football, if the better team turns up and plays well, the chances are 9 times out of 10 they're going to win the game. And what we saw at Sheffield United 2-3 weeks ago was when City were under the pump for quite early on. They held firm, but they got the first goal after 7 minutes when Matt Crooks rattled in. And that changed the complete dynamic of the game, of Sheffield United's performance, of Hull City's performance, and the feeling in the stadium. They needed that kind of thing tonight. They needed to get that first goal. They needed to be able to turn the screw. And obviously Burnley have got their record. Look, it's 10 games in a row now. They've kept a clean sheet. Better teams than Hull City have tried to score against them and have failed. And I must admit, I did fancy that they could score tonight. I like a lot of bits and pieces of what I see. I felt they'd have a threat tonight because of what we saw at Bramall Lane and of what we saw albeit at Blackburn and Millwall, teams that aren't on the same level as this Burnley team. And look, they got punished after 3 minutes. They couldn't withstand the pressure. Jade and Anthony, the winger, just was unplayable tonight, and he gave Sean McLaughlin a torrid time. His wonderful ball in for Zian Fleming to power in the second goal after 21 minutes essentially killed the game. Kamara, for me, has got to do better in trying to block that cross. If he does block the cross, it goes out for a corner, perhaps. A bit like, funny enough, Gauhart blocked a cross in the build-up to the goal, because he blocked a cross and it went out for a corner, and then City sort of cleared the corner, didn't recover, and the cross came back in from Jadon Anthony, and as I say, Zian Fleming, he got above McLaughlin, but the trouble was he got the run on McLaughlin, he got the momentum and the power, and Pando was never going to save it. It was at that point, at 2-0 after 20 minutes, 21 minutes, you're feeling the worst. You're looking at it thinking, this could get really, really messy. This could be, you're thinking 4 or 5 at that point. And I'm sure the away fans in that, 800 or so that had made the long journey across, who were in good voice right to the end as well, to be fair. They stuck by their team all the way to the end. So credit to the away fans here tonight. They're probably thinking like I was right at the top of the main stand here, thinking, that this could be really problematic for them. This could be an absolute pasting. Mercifully, a combination of kind of Ruben changing the tactics, City getting to grips with things a bit more, Burnley probably taking their foot off the gas, especially in the second half a little bit, kind of is why we ended up with a 2-0 scoreline as opposed to a 4 or a 5, which would have been, disastrous for their goal difference. They were much better in the second half. If you think back to that, and I know I keep harping on back to the Sheffield United game, but that is the recent win. It was a team, good in for automatic promotion. It was a team in the Premier League last year. So I think it's only fair to make that comparison in truth. But again, one of the key things at Bramall Lane, and Neil Warnock raised this on the Sky coverage after the game, was that how tenacious City were in the tackle, how they ruffled United's feathers, how they got in amongst them, and they never gave them a minute. They blocked crosses, they stopped shots, they were at it. And tonight, in that first half, they were much better in the second half. They were snapping in tackles, they were closing Burnley down, but the horse had bolted by that point, and by that point the game they were 2-0 down. And in reality, given Burnley's record, now 9 clean sheets in a row in the Championship, 10 if you include the Southampton FA Cup win at the weekend, you always felt once Burnley got in front, the first goal would be so crucial, and it would be so difficult for City to get back in the game. And they did have chances in the second half. When João Pedro came on, he forced a really good tip over from James Trafford. There was a corner where Sean McLaughlin powered a header. I think if he goes a yard either side of the goalkeeper, he probably scores, but he heads it straight at Trafford, who makes the save. And there were one or two other nearly moments. You have to say at the other end, there were, Burnley had chances of their own. There was a possible penalty shout. I didn't think the referee, Sam Allison, was very good tonight at all. There was a moment in the first half where Carl Joseph got clattered. Burnley, the ball came out wide, and Burnley came on, kind of stayed on the attack, and he sort of stood there with his arms. I'm thinking, well, it's obviously, it looked like a clash of heads, but it looked like a foul on Joseph. And it took him an age to stop play, and then he gave the ball back to Burnley, who were in possession at the time. But there was loads of strange. I didn't think the referee was great tonight, I've got to be honest. And that isn't sour grapes. I just thought he refereed it poorly. But that, it's not the first time we've said that this season, either in the Premier League or the Championship. I think refereeing standards generally are dropping. I don't think the referees are very good as a collective. But that's another conversation for another day. This is about City. And look, I think most people arrived here tonight thinking if they could get anything, it'd be a bonus. And Burnley, look, we can hammer City for many things. And defensively in that first half, the fullbacks were poor. Louis Coyle wasn't great. McLaughlin wasn't great. They didn't get a lot of help from the players in front of them, in fairness. As a team, as a collective, and it's harsh to pick out individuals, but as a collective they were poor defensively. The setup was wrong, and they were exploited. But look, Burnley are a good side. And I know there'll be some fans that lambast the manager, lambast individuals and the team because they've lost tonight. But Burnley are a better team. Burnley have got better players. That is the reality of it. They were in the Premier League last year. They've got, they're bringing on Marcus Edwards, who's an £8 million left back. Bringing him on second half. They've just got a better team. And City were by no means disgraced in that second half. And I think that is what you've got to cling to. And I agree, Tom. I said this myself. Their season will not be defined on losing 2-0 away at Burnley, who may very well get promoted, get automatic promotion. I mean, Leeds, you think, are going to be the team, unfortunately, that win the league. And it's going to be a battle between Burnley and Sheffield United for second place. But whoever goes in the playoffs, I think Burnley... You'd have to, if it were Burnley that went in the playoffs, you'd have to say you'd fancy them because of just how tight they are. But anything can happen as Scott Parker's just said, in the final games. But alas, that is not our concern. City's future is perilous. They're in the bottom three. Plymouth have absolutely tonked Millwall tonight. I think that's back-to-back wins in the Championship for Millwall. For Plymouth. Obviously they've had the FA Cup boost by beating Liverpool, so now they're only a point behind Hull City, having looked not dead and buried but cut adrift at one point only a couple of weeks ago. Luton have lost again tonight. Derby have obviously drew at home to Oxford last night, but they're going to have John Eustace in charge, so it remains to be seen how that impacts that dynamic. But ultimately it's still in their own hands, completely in their own hands. Are they going to be good enough? And that is only... It's up to the players and the manager and the coaching staff to answer that question. And if they are going to stay in the Championship, they're going to have to find a way to start winning some games at home. Danny, is Norwich a must-win? You've got 15 games left. I don't want to say it's must-win, although I felt that Stoke was a must-win, and they lost that. They lost against QPR. I felt that was a game they look, their home form is atrocious. 2 wins in 15 is an absolute disgrace. You can't dress it up, you can't sugarcoat it. The home form is pathetic. It's embarrassing, and unless they sort it out, they're going to get relegated because they're not going to pick up enough points, I don't think, away from home to compensate for what they need to do at home. They've got 7 games at home left. I think 3 of them are now against teams in and around them. Derby County to come, Luton to come, and Plymouth to come. Of course, Portsmouth away on the final day. They've got to start getting some results at home, and if they keep losing at home, they will get relegated. That is a fact, because other teams will pick up points. Plymouth have started to pick up points. Portsmouth, their home form is really, really good. Other teams down there, Cardiff, I know they've lost, but this midweek, but they have got the capability to go and pick up points. And you fancy at home Cardiff will get results. It's up to City. It's in their own hands. There's 15 games to go. They need to go and win a chunk of them, and they've got to win some games at home. And Norwich aren't in great form. They lost at home to Preston, but it's almost a moot point. who they're playing to a point. They haven't got to worry about Burnley anymore. They haven't got to worry about Leeds or Sheffield United. They have got Sunderland away next weekend, but they've got to start picking some points up at home because, as I say, I don't want to be the monger of doom or anything, but the reality is staring us straight in the face. This team have won twice at home in 15 games, 16 if you or 17 actually if you include 2 cup games against Sheffield Wednesday's reserves and League Two Doncaster. So that's even worse. They've just got to start doing it. Norwich on Saturday, and Danny, I think in coming back to your point, is it must win. Make your own mind up on that. I think that you are getting into that stage now of the season where when you've only got 15 games to go, and you've got 7 at home, and your home form is embarrassing and shocking, and by far the worst in the division. And bar Carlisle and Burton, I think, and Morecambe, the worst in the entire football league. That's a shambles, isn't it? And they've got to turn it around. And I just spoke to Carl Joseph just before I got on the coach there, and his attitude was, look, we cannot change what's gone in the past. Yes, it's not been great, but that's in the past. We can only look to the future, and he's right. He's right. We all look to the past as the media and the fans, and because we're that's their reality. But they've got to start finding a way to win games. It doesn't matter how or what. They've just got to do it, and that starts on Saturday. It starts with Norwich. If they can beat Norwich, there's a fair chance they'll be out the bottom 3. Then they go to Sunderland, and you're looking at anything at Sunderland. A point is a good result. Luton have got beat there tonight, but Luton are just, you keep expecting Luton are one of those teams. You think they run the Premier League last year. They've got some decent players. You think at some point they're going to kickstart and find a way out of it, but they keep losing, so they don't. Not dissimilar to City actually. Although after 30 odd games now, you are where you deserve to be, and City the reality of it is City are the 3rd worst team in the Championship after 31, 32 games. I mean, the stats don't lie, do they? And they've got to find a way. They've got to find a way of replicating that Sheffield United result and getting some home. And I don't think the home performances on the whole have been terrible. I don't think that. I think against Middlesbrough they're okay. Against Watford they were decent. They were okay against QPR. They were okay against Stoke, having gone in front. But these are games they've lost. Apart from the Watford game, they've lost 3. Borough, QPR, and Stoke. They've lost them, and that's the recurring theme, isn't it? And Richard, I think 4 points from the next 2 games. Look, I think the cliche is next game, innit? You've got to beat Norwich. I think you've got to. Lee, it doesn't, and it doesn't, and I don't want to be overly critical because that doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help me coming on here and slagging the club off, the manager, the players, the current manager, the former. That doesn't achieve anything, does it? But the league table after we're in middle of February now. We are getting towards the end of the final running. 10 games. Is 10 games and under is classed as the running. Well, we're only 5 away from that, and by the end of the month, there'll be 3 more ticked off. So there'll be 12 games. So we're getting towards this is time to sort it out because they've been down there all season, and they're down there for a reason because they haven't been good enough. They have not been good enough, and you can't sugarcoat it. And whether that upsets people or not, I kind of that's City's reality. Is they are where they are because they deserve to be. They've got to find some form. They've got to find some form to get out of this mess. They've had it 3 wins on the spin away. That run is ended now. They've now got to turn it around, and they've got to respond at home and start getting some home results. They've got a chance on Saturday. They've got to go and produce. And if they don't produce, we know what's going to happen. They'll be messing around in League One, which for a club that's losing 500, let's call a spade a spade. For a club that's losing £500,000 a week, relegation to League One would be catastrophic for everybody at the football club. And it's always the non-playing staff, the behind-the-scenes staff that I always worry for. The players will be fine. The players will, live to fight another day. Most of them will go elsewhere and get paid elsewhere. But it's the staff behind the scenes that can't do that. That always struggle when the club gets relegated to League One. The people that the fans don't always think about, don't always see. So relegation for this football club would be an absolute catastrophe. Make no mistake about it. And it cannot afford to be relegated. And basically, it's in their own hands. They have to find results. They have to start getting results. And that starts on Saturday against Norwich. Right. it's probably time to head home from here at Turf Moor, which has never been a happy hunting ground, and continues to be just that. So, look, disappointing defeat tonight, but I think it's one that probably, if you're being honest, most people probably thought this is a difficult one. They won't be relegated on nights like tonight, but they will be relegated on days like Saturday. And if they don't, yeah, Tom, I just to answer your question, I think the fans are being patient. Yeah, I think they are. I think I don't think Ruben's. I think Ruben, he's admitted he takes responsibility for tonight. Managers get it wrong, players get it wrong, but I think the fans are really supportive tonight. If you think back to when they lost away at Oxford, and the players were getting hammered, the manager was getting hammered. They've lost here tonight, and the fans were singing. Credit to them, they were singing all the way to the end. They were clapping the team off, and they could appreciate the fact that particularly in the second half, the players put a shift in. And I don't think, whether you're fans of Hull City, whether you're fans of Carlisle, whether you're fans of Altrincham, North Ferriby, Beverley Town, it doesn't matter. Football is a tough game, and you're going to lose games. That's just the nature of the beast. Man City. Look at Man City. They've won forever. The lights are going out. Let's hope the lights aren't going out on Hull City season. Man City won every game for 5 years. Eventually, they start losing games, and it happens in football. And I think fans can understand that teams lose games, but it's how they lose games. As long as they put a shift in, as long as they work hard and they fight for the shirt, fans will go, yeah, okay, I don't want to lose. It's not ideal, of course, but, and I think the fans can see the players are putting a shift in. They just were beaten by a better team tonight, and I think that is you have to put it in context. I don't think you need to get too worked up about the fact they've lost at Burnley. If they lose 2-0 at home to Norwich on Saturday, and then they lose, they lose at Cardiff, then you start to question. But I don't think you can hammer them for losing 2-0 away at Burnley against a team that were in the Premier League last year, as I say, and have now kept 10 clean sheets on the spin. So it needs to be put into perspective. Unfortunately, the league table is dire. Their situation is perilous, and they are in very real danger of being relegated unless they can get some results. And we've been saying it all season. I don't want to bore you with it. I was saying it at the start of the season. I worried that they'd get drawn into a relegation battle. I felt like they were sleepwalking. I felt like people at the club didn't even comprehend that this could be a thing. I'm still not convinced that enough people are taking it seriously, that they're third bottom with 15 games to go. They could get relegated. There's a very real chance, and I think that needs to be understood and accepted. I think the manager does, and I think people within the club are starting to come around to the idea that this could happen. But they've got to fight tooth and nail, because, as I said, relegation would be an absolute unmitigated disaster in so many ways. But let's not get into that tonight. There's still 15 games to go. It's still in their hands, and they have the power to turn this around. But they've got to start doing it soon, and they have to start doing it at home. Otherwise, you can kiss goodbye to Championship status. Anyway, that's it from here at Turf Moor. It's getting on for, I haven't got a watch on, it's getting on for, well, it's late, and I know I've got a couple of half-hour journey home, and then another couple of hours worth of work to do before I can settle into bed at 3-4 o'clock in the morning. So thanks for watching, everybody. If you've been here at Burnley, great support tonight, can't fault you. Safe journey back across into East Yorkshire. We'll be with Ruben and a player on Friday to preview the game against Norwich, and then of course we'll be at the MKM Stadium on Saturday, where please, for the love of God, just win a bloody home game. Right, over and out, people. Take it steady. Thanks very much.